afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. We've got a massive preview show for tonight's big game in the Sky Bet Championship. AFC Bournemouth taking on Nottingham Forest in what is effectively a mini playoff final with one more game to go after this one tonight. My name is Sam Rourke, the chief editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Billy Mulley and Toby Wilding. Billy, how are you getting on this afternoon?
Yeah, doing well, thank you. As you say, what a massive game to kick things off, I guess, in terms of it'll be a big determinant of who will go into the playoffs, I imagine. So, yeah, it's going to be a massive game and really, really excited about it. And I'm sure all of us EFL fans will be watching this over the Champions League games too.
Absolutely. Toby, how are you feeling ahead of this one tonight? All good?
Yeah, good, thanks. As Billy says, it's an absolute massive game, isn't it? I mean, stakes could barely be higher, so that's just really going to set it up for an absolutely fascinating encounter. Really, really looking forward to watching this one. So going to be good to get stuck into a few key aspects of it over the course of the show.
Yeah, definitely. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. So get yourself in the comments. Bournemouth fans, Forest fans, we want to hear from you ahead of tonight's game. Right, let's get straight into it. Right, it's only natural to look at the Sky Bet Championship table right now as we see Bournemouth currently in second position. They are in the driving seat heading into tonight's game at home to Forest. Forest just 3 points away from Bournemouth. Bournemouth know that a victory this evening will secure their promotion back to the Premier League. If Forest do win this evening, though, they do leapfrog Bournemouth, and it will come down to the final day of the season to see who does claim that second spot. Billy, let's come to you then first. Let's look at this from a Forest perspective. A couple of months ago, I'd imagine many Forest fans could only dream of battling for automatic promotion, but here they are, facing off against second place Bournemouth with 2 games to go with a chance of leapfrogging them. I mean, Forest fans must be in dreamland right now, mustn't they?
They are, and I think the confidence has been growing over the last few weeks. I think once the season kick-started after sort of the March internationals, confidence has been there. Looking at Bournemouth's sort of fixture list, Nottingham Forest fans were thinking that they can capitalise that, and that was when there was still a few points off the pace. So it's been an incredible last few weeks, and I guess you can probably extend that to the rest of the season since Steve Cooper's taken over, because it's been an extraordinary rise, and for them to be, having this game for the opportunity to go into the last game of the season in the ascendancy. With the sort of expectations will then be on them to go and secure automatic promotion, which just highlights how incredible this campaign has been, highlights how much confidence is flowing through the team. And you still look at the squad, there's a few injuries, but the fact that they've got a squad that's so competitive, a squad that is just so full of confidence. I keep using the same phrase because that is what you think at when you look at Forest at the moment. It's just a very, very confident squad with some talented individuals who go on to some very, very good things in their football careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose you only have to, that confidence was in full flow last weekend as they romped Swansea City 5-1 at the City ground. Toby, let's just flip it then and look at AFC Bournemouth. They are in the driving seat tonight. Do you feel the nerves, are the nerves on them? Is the expectation on them tonight? Is the pressure more so on Bournemouth than it is Forest, do you feel?
Yeah, I would say so, because Bournemouth know how big an opportunity this is for them, and I think as well you sort of look at the expectations of these two clubs as we've just sort of been talking about. Bournemouth throughout this whole campaign, they've been there, haven't they? They have always been sort of in that top 2 or right on the cusp of it. So it will be a huge blow for them psychologically, mentally to drop out of it with just a game to go. Whereas you contrast that with Forest, and the momentum and the positivity is just going to be so high within the group, you feel, because they're already guaranteed a playoff spot. And when you consider where they were when Steve Cooper took over, I don't think anyone would have been backing them for that at that stage. So in that sense, Forest, they're guaranteed top 6, and that is more than that they would probably have been aiming for this season. So as I say, that it's already very much a case of job done for them, and anything else here could potentially be a bonus. Whereas if Bournemouth slip up, it's like it's a huge opportunity missed, and it would be a massive blow for them, to go into the playoffs. Which would be such a disappointment given, as we say, how close they've been to automatic promotion and how comfortable they've looked in that top two for much of the season. And I think as well, Bournemouth are going to want to get this done tonight, because if it does go to the final day, you look at the fixtures, Bournemouth, they've got a Millwall side who have been really strong this season. They've been in strong form at the minute and could still sneak into the playoffs on the final day. So they've still got a lot to play for that would likely make it difficult for Scott Parker's side if it does go to Saturday. By contrast, Forest have got a Hull City team who are already sort of, out of it. They're not threatened by relegation. They're not in the playoff mix. So there's nothing left for them to play for. And they took an absolute beating at Bristol City at the weekend. So on paper, you would say if it goes to the final day, Forest have also got the more favourable fixture there. So definitely, it feels like there is more weighing on Bournemouth to get this done tonight than Forest.
Yeah, expectation is definitely big down on the South Coast heading into this game. Just a reminder, we are broadcasting live. Please do send in your comments. We want to know your score predictions for Bournemouth Forest tonight. Who do you see getting on the score sheet? Do you think Bournemouth can do it this evening? Get back to the Premier League. Please do let us know in the YouTube live chat. So let's just touch on the fact that this is playing out at the Vitality Stadium this evening. Bournemouth are the home team. They're going to have their home support behind them. Billy, just how big of an impact do you think that could have on tonight's game?
It's interesting. I think it does come down to two schools of thought. You think of the Vitality Stadium, although not the biggest capacity in the Championship, the fans are right on top of you. It's a tight and compact atmosphere, and that does drive their team on. But on the other side of things, there could be nerves creeping in. Obviously, Forest's rise up the table is not something that they haven't kept their eye on. So there'll definitely be nerves going into this game, and it's whether that can sort of translate into a nervous atmosphere at the Vitality Stadium. It remains to be seen how that actually plays out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Vitality Stadium reacts to the start of the game. And if Nottingham Forest enjoy a good sort of opening 5-10 minutes, will that sort of quiet the place down, or whether if Bournemouth can get on top from early on, whether that will sort of translate into a loud Vitality Stadium that will go on to sort of inspire them to victory. It's going to be such an entertaining game. There's so many different battles, so many different things to consider. It's really, as you say, you sort of compared it a little bit to the playoff final, and it does have that kind of feel because of what is at stake, and it's whether that's going to translate into it remains to be seen if it will sort of help Nottingham Forest going into a sort of a nervous ground, or if AFC Bournemouth fans will turn up for it. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'd urge anyone that's thinking about watching the Champions League tonight, please don't watch this game down on the South Coast. I imagine there'll be a lot more entertainment during this fixture. Toby, let's come to you then. There's no major injury concerns for both sides. They're probably going to be coming into this game naming an unchanged 11 from the last victories on the weekend, you'd imagine. Let's just look at the Forest side then, Toby. Which players do you feel could have a real say on tonight's game? We've seen Sam Surridge really come to the fore, haven't we? He's got a hat-trick on the weekend at home to Swansea. He's really filling that void left by Lewis Grabban and Keenan Davis, isn't he, in particular?
Yeah, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? I mean, as you say, that hat-trick at the weekend, he's just sort of stepped in seamlessly for Forest now. There will probably have been a lot of pressure on him sort of stepping into that role, given how good Keenan Davis had been before that, and of course, Lewis Grabban been such a reliable player for so long for Forest. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure on him. I think as well, when you consider the fact that the start to this season didn't go particularly great for him at Stoke. The opportunities and the goals didn't come as much as he would have wanted. So it's been a remarkable turnaround for him in that sense, in terms of he has also had to wait for the opportunity a bit here at Forest, but he's taken it with both hands. That's for certain. And yeah, he's really going to want to make a point here as well, isn't he, against his former club? Again, another place where it didn't quite work out for him as he might have hoped. So a big opportunity for him to sort of make another point there. I think away from that, there's going to be a few other interesting battles, and there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Forest, I think, from a defensive perspective. I mean, I watched Bournemouth at Blackburn on Saturday, and they were really impressive going forward. Dominic Solanke was an absolute handful. You know, the likes of Scott Wharton and Jan-Paul van Heck for Blackburn have been very strong defensively this season, but they really struggled with him at times. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on that back three of Forest to keep him quiet. I mean, Blackburn did just go with the two centre-backs on Saturday. So whether the fact that Forest might, if as we expect, go for the back three again, could help them in terms of giving them that extra man to sort of try and keep him quiet, it'll be interesting to see if that makes any difference. And I think as well, you know, the return of Philip Billing, he was a huge threat again with his double on Saturday. So that's going to be a really intriguing battle in the centre of the park. And, you know, another chance for those sort of midfielders of Forest, Ryan Yates and James Garner, who've been so good this season, to again show what they can really do in such a high stakes game.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a comment come in from Marcus Ali on YouTube. Do you rate Zamura's defensive capabilities up against Spence and Johnson, or should Parker put Smith or Brady at left back to use their experience in the challenge? Billy, I'll pose that one to you. What do you think of Zamora? Do you think he's well equipped tonight to handle both Spence and Johnson?
It's a really interesting question that's come in, because I guess you could probably ask a similar question on Forest's right-hand side with Jed Spence. We all know his attacking capabilities, but there have been a couple of questions about whether he's good enough defensively to come up against a team as potent as Bournemouth. But yeah, going to Zamora, I think defensively he's growing. You know, of course, this is, you know, his breakthrough season in terms of regular Championship football, and defensively you can tell that he's becoming better equipped. Whether he is able to stop Brennan Johnson and Jed Spence, I don't know if anybody in the Championship is. So that's going to be a key battle, as we've already sort of pointed out. As you say, Smith or Brady, I think Smith is a player. He's one of those players that can be trusted by his manager. Maybe not play every game when the whole squad's fit, but when there's a specific job, he can call upon Smith, and he's always, you know what you're going to get with him. He's a tough tackler. He's an intelligent defender. He's somebody, you might not have the pace of Spence, but he's intelligent. He knows how to stop him. So it wouldn't be a surprise if Smith did come into the fray, but also Zamora does give you that sort of attacking play as well, which, you know, it's just going to be as vital in a game as big as this.
Yeah, definitely an interesting debate there. I suppose one weakness you could say for Nottingham Forest is the fact that they haven't got a recognised left back playing this evening. Jack Colback's been filling in over the last few weeks in Max Lowe's absence. But to be fair to Jack Colback, he's really impressed in that role. Toby, do you think that's potentially an area that Bournemouth can exploit tonight? The fact that Colback, you know, isn't a natural left back. Could the likes of Ryan Christie and Dom Solanke really exploit that tonight?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the areas that they're looking to, aren't they? Because as we've sort of touched on already, Forest are very strong sort of through the middle defensively with that back three they've got, and as we sort of say, the two holding options they've got in the centre of the park as well. It's not going to be easy, you wouldn't think, to break them down. So they're going to have to look for other ways to do that, and you would think those wide areas are going to be a good option for them, and particularly down the left, where, you know, Colback, he's got a bit more in the legs in terms of years than Jed Spence on the opposite side, and he's not as natural in that position. So that's definitely a sort of area you could look at Bournemouth targeting. And, you know, if they are putting that sort of pressure on, then obviously it reduces the threat that Forest can pose at the other end. And it may pull players out of position if you know they're having to double up down that area with sort of the attacking threats that, say, a Ryan Christie can pose. So definitely that's going to be something that Bournemouth are going to have to look at, I think, because it's one of the few areas where, you might say there is maybe a chink in the armour for Forest.
Absolutely. Let us know in the comments what your score predictions are for AFC Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest this evening. We really do want to hear from you, Bournemouth Forest fans. Get in the YouTube live chat now. Let's just look at one other potential concern for Nottingham Forest, Billy. I suppose when it comes to the depth of the attacking area, specifically up front, Forest are lacking on the bench. We've spoken about Keenan Davis and Lewis Grabban being out of action with injury. Sam Surridge has been leading the line very well of late. But, if there was an injury to Sam Surridge in tonight's game, they will have to rely on the likes of Joe Lolley or Alex Mighton to fill that gap. Is that a little bit of a concern, potentially? I suppose not just tonight, but heading into a potential playoff run if they don't win tonight?
It's certainly not ideal, but I think what we've come to learn from Forest is that they are very adaptable. You think even within the defensive line, Scott McKenna was out for a couple of games, Steve Cook was out, and Figueiredo came in. And there was no real dip in performance levels. I think there's been sort of a couple of concerns prior to the Swansea game about sort of the likes of Colback and Zinkernagel and even Surridge himself. But they always seem to be able to tinker the system. They always manage to have answers to any problems that they've come up against under Steve Cooper. And I think that's just testament to the way he ensures that the full squad is ready. As you say, looking at the sort of the squad depth at the moment, you don't see a recognised striker on the bench, but you could quite easily push Brennan Johnson up top by himself and play sort of two number 10s off him with Alex Mighton or Joe Lolley coming in for them. So yeah, I think in terms of adaptability, in terms of flexibility, Steve Cooper has shown that he can get the best out of his squad this season, even with injuries, even with general player unavailabilities, which I think it makes it so that it's not going to be too much of a concern. Say if they do pick up an injury in this game, say if that he does want to tinker with the system a little bit. So yeah, I think Cooper has proven that he can be able to adapt with these kinds of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, let us know in the comments what you make of the current Forest squad. Is there a lack of depth in your opinion or not so much? Let us know. This is just a reminder to all of those watching. It is a 7 p.m. kickoff this evening, not 7:45, not 8 o'clock. It is 7 o'clock. I will actually be there for footballleagueworld.co.uk this evening. So stay tuned to my Twitter account for all the updates from the big game down on the South Coast. Let's just touch on the reverse fixture then between the two sides. Back at the City Ground back in August, Bournemouth came away 2-1 winners in that particular fixture. Billy, do you look too much into this? I suppose from a Forest perspective, it was a completely different club at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly there. Forest, they're a completely different animal under Steve Cooper. Mentioned a lot about what he's continuing to do and the job he's done. But I think going back to the first run of games under Chris Hughton, it seems incredible that this Forest team are in the same sort of division, in the same sort of 2021-22 campaign as that side. It just seems incredible to me. And whilst it was quite a tightly contested game, you can't draw too many sort of parallels to that Forest team now to what it is today and what Bournemouth are going to come up against. You look at sort of, even looking at the sort of the system, you look at the tactics, everything really has changed. So if Bournemouth are trying to prepare for Forest by looking at that game, I don't think it's going to give you too many answers. But saying that, it's the same group of players. I know they're performing to their absolute maximum now, but at the end of the day, it's the same players, and being able to nullify certain threats that you'll learn throughout the season, I think that's where Bournemouth win this game. So it's as much as you can't really look into that game because of how far Forest have come on an individual basis, looking at the players within the squad, you can learn from that game how to nullify certain players, and I think that's the kind of approach that Bournemouth will take.
Yeah, absolutely. Toby, in terms of playing style in tonight's game, we've seen from both Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest consistently this season, they do like to play on the front foot, very attacking, adventurous football, not very reserved. Do you expect them to kind of continue in that fashion this evening, both sides, or do you think we could see a little bit more of a conservative approach from either of the sides this evening?
I'm expecting them to still be going all out, which I think is just what we want to hear, isn't it? I mean, Forest, yes, we're all saying that the pressure's more on Bournemouth coming into this one, but Forest are going to want to get this done as well, aren't they? They're not going to want to face the lottery of the playoffs if possible, so that pretty much means they will have to win here. So they're going to be going all out to do that. And I think Bournemouth the same as well, a win, and there's no sorts of final day nerves. And I mean, Scott Parker in his press conference on Saturday, watching him there, he said, they go out to win every game this season, and they will be doing the same again tonight, because that's the way they play. That's the best way for them. That's safer than sitting back and potentially letting Forest have the possession and break them down, because Forest do have the quality to do that. So yeah, I think both sides, as they have been doing all season, will be going all out here, trying to get the 3 points that will put them in a really strong, potentially in Bournemouth's case, decisive position ahead of the final game of the season. And obviously, for us watching it as neutrals, that's exactly what want to hear, want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to come to the point where we're going to look at the score predictions from Billy and Toby for tonight's game. Let's just finally look at one other sort of narrative from this game. Toby, I'll stick with you. You kind of touched on it earlier on this show, but if Forest do lose this evening, it is going to be the playoffs for them in the coming weeks. How do you feel like the mentality would be, given they've been so close to kind of nipping Bournemouth? But if they do lose tonight, do you feel like they've still got it in their kind of tank to go again in the playoffs and kind of come victorious at Wembley potentially?
Yeah, from a mentality perspective, for certain, because as I say, they've already done so well to get to this point. As it is, I don't think anyone really expected them to be able to do this when Steve Cooper took over from the position they were in at that point. So they can still sort of really hold their heads high for what they've done over the course of the season. So yeah, there'd certainly be that sort of confidence as well. I think you've got the fact of there's still that final day where they could still bounce back, even if they lose here tonight and promotion's out of the question. They could still pick up some momentum going into the playoffs if they can get a decent result against Hull on the final day. I mean, maybe there would be questions from a sort of fitness perspective with those injuries, whether they have the depth for that. I don't know. I mean, as we were sort of saying, you look at that squad, and yes, they might be lacking a bit up front if Surridge misses out for any reason, but they've got players who can contribute from anywhere on the pitch. Brennan Johnson obviously been unstoppable this season. Zinchenko chips in. Spence is a threat. Garner and Yates can make contributions as well. So yeah, as I say, it'd be disappointing for Forest not to get automatic promotion, but still, from where they've been this season, it's a pretty impressive achievement that they're even now already guaranteed a top 6 spot. And so I think that will still ensure there is a good mentality for them going into the playoffs, if it is to be the playoffs for them. And obviously Steve Cooper knows all about that as well from his past couple of seasons from Swansea, and that can help Forest as well if it does come to that. So yeah, definitely not something that I think would be as much of a disappointment. It wouldn't be a huge concern about sort of how it might affect Forest going into the playoffs, if that is to be the route they have to take if they're going to get promotion.
Yeah, just before we get to our score predictions, I think it's also worth noting that Forest do come into this game in the much better form between the both sides. Forest have won 5 of their last 6 league games. Bournemouth have only won 2 of their last 6. So the ascendancy in terms of form is with the away side, you do feel. Right, this is a final call for anyone watching. Let us know your score predictions for tonight's massive game in the Championship, AFC Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest at the Vitality Stadium. Let us know your score predictions. Right, we're going to get Billy and Toby's score predictions next. Right, Billy, it's time to put your neck on the line for tonight's huge game in the second tier. Where are the going?
I think they're coming back with Nottingham Forest. I think they'll win this one 2-1. I think, for your sake and for the rest of the EFL's sake, I think it's going to be a very entertaining clash. We've seen it recently when Bournemouth played Fulham. It was a game where it was pretty much at Premier League level. It was that high quality, and I think this game will sort of deliver in that kind of respect too. But yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1. Forest inflict a lot of pressure on Bournemouth yet again, I think.
Yeah, it's a real mouth-watering final day of the season if Forest do win. Toby, what's your score prediction for tonight?
Yeah, I've got a feeling for Forest as well. I think there'll definitely be goals with the way these two teams are going to approach this, the quality they've got and the importance of it. But I just think, sort of looking at the sort of the home table, Bournemouth, they might be in second overall, but I was looking at the home form and they're only 9th in the Championship overall in terms of results at home so far this season. So I think that again says a lot. It's going to be something that you would imagine the fans and the players are aware of. That could put pressure on them as well. Forest are obviously will probably know that as well, and they've been strong away, 4th best away record in the division so far, so that will give them confidence as well. So yeah, really good game, lots of goals, but just with that in mind, I can see Forest just nicking it, so I'll go 3-2 to the away team.
Wow, so both Billy and Toby opting for Forest away wins in what will be a massive result for Steve Cooper's side heading into the final day of the season. As we've already said, if Forest do win tonight, they do leapfrog Bournemouth on goal difference and will sit in second position. Would be a monumental achievement if Forest do secure promotion, considering where they were in the table. Right, well, that brings a close to the AFC Bournemouth Nottingham Forest preview show here on Football League World TV. Billy, Toby, thanks for joining me this afternoon to chat through tonight's game. I will be at the Vitality Stadium for Football League World this evening, so stay tuned to my Twitter account, Rourke_, for all the latest updates from the game, and also stay across the website for all the latest reaction from tonight's huge fixture. Wherever you're watching tonight's game, whether it be at the stadium or at home on the TV, please do enjoy it. It's set to be a real cracker. Right, we've got lots more coming up on Football League World TV over the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we're going to be making sense of the final day in League One. So much drama unfolded over the bank holiday weekend. We also got another EFL transfer zone show for you in the afternoon, and then the rest of the days we're going to be looking at the League One playoffs. The semi-finals kick off this weekend. Wickham taking on MK Dons, Sunderland taking on Sheffield Wednesday. But from myself, Billy and Toby, enjoy tonight's game, and we shall see you soon.